The movie, titled 127 Hours, directed by Danny Boyle, is based on the true story of Aaron Weston, a mountain climber who becomes trapped in a remote canyon in Utah when a boulder pins his arm. He spends over 5 days, 127 hours, trying to survive before finally amputating his arm to free himself. 127 Hours reflects existential themes as Aaron faces a life or death situation alone, forcing him to confront the absurdity of existence. According to existentialist philosophy, life lacks inherent meaning, and individuals are responsible for creating their own meaning through choices. Aaron grapples with the absurdity of his predicament, recognizing that he alone is responsible for his fate and must act decisively to survive. The film 127 Hours depicts a biographical account based on the true story of the real-life person on whom the film is based, mountaineer Aaron Weston, who was trapped in a canyon in Utah. The film initially shows a dynamic variety of people, then shifts its focus to one Aaron among a large number of people. Aaron Weston, who seems to have a very bright personality but somehow feels lonely in the crowd. This suggests that misfortune can come to anyone without warning, and the camera follows Aaron Weston on his arduous adventure. The camera arrives at a Blue Zone Canyon in Utah, a 17.6 km long and very dangerous canyon. It seems like someone could bury someone and come out without anyone knowing. The film centers around the rock climbing adventures of extreme sport enthusiast Weston, capturing the thrill of outdoor exploration and rock climbing. Aaron Weston, whose name itself is unusual, is an engineer from Denver, Colorado, USA, with an overwhelming passion for rock climbing. Many extreme sport enthusiasts say that they climb mountains because they are there. Some say that it is because they can climb them. Some say that it is guilty not to climb when you can climb so high and see such beauty. Some say that when you stay at home, you get a kind of a depression where big dark clouds keep following you around. But when you came out and climb a mountain, it heals you and you feel like you're reborn. Aaron Weston had the same thought, I think. In February 2003, Aaron was buried in an avalanche while hiking, but he survived with the help of a friend. On April 26, 2003, just a few months after the avalanche incident, Aaron left for a solo trip to the big Blue Zone Canyon in Utah, USA without leaving a message for anyone. Aaron accidentally encounters a group of lost female climbers and offers to guide them, suggesting an exciting route. Together, they have a wonderful time losing track of time like carefree children as they continue their exhilarating adventure. Eventually, they part ways amicably. The way he enjoys climbing, feeling the texture of the rock, performing parkour-like movement, and listening to music feels like pure passion and mania. The harsh realities of the wilderness and the uncontrollable aspects of nature are prominent themes. From personal experience, it is really dangerous to climb a mountain alone. In fact, I still vividly remember 3 civilian hikers who got lost and froze to death in the middle of a snowy winter morning near my military base in 2003 while I was serving in the military hospital. Wild nature is never friendly to humans. Sometimes it is natural selection, Sometimes it is just repeating an unpredictable process, and in that, misfortune comes without warning. If you can't avoid it, enjoy it. But if you completely change the meaning of this saying, avoid it when you can. Unfortunately, it seems like now is that moment. So we have to learn from Aaron what the spirit of overcoming fate, not avoiding it. The story explores the limits of physical and mental endurance. Isolated Wrestler realizes that he is completely alone and has no way of communicating with the outside world. Here is the interview. The cosmic simultaneity that collided with me not knowing what was happening outside when the helicopter landed over the canyon. And despite the rescue team not knowing what happened to me in the canyon and everything, if I had been rescued a little earlier or a little later, I would have died. Rhinestone experiences flashbacks and hallucinations, desperately reflecting his inner search and memories. He vividly remembers his regret about neglecting his family and his longing for the girlfriend he sent away. Here is the actual interview. In a dreamlike moment on the fifth night that I was there, the canyon was dark, but I saw myself leaving and going into the living room. And there, I realized that this blonde boy I was holding was my future son. I looked straight into his eyes. It was a really touching moment. I was just crying. So I definitely accepted that I had to continue to overcome this whole grand adventure. It was an effort to prove to myself that I was good enough and capable enough. And was I going to keep doing that to the point where I had an accident on the adventure and I was going to kill myself on the side of the mountain somewhere, leaving my family alone? I realized that money, work, those things were no longer my priorities in life. It is often said that when a person is near death, the most important thing in his life comes to light, and in Aaron's case, it was his future son. If there is even one person he loves, it is enough of reason to move forward. Everyone who is born will eventually die, so isn't that why our time now is so precious? Threats often bring clarity about what truly important matters so. The film focuses primarily on Rhinestone's ability to adapt to a dire circumstance. It doesn't seem like someone else's business to struggle against absurdity. He cries out for help, but there is no one to come rescue him in a place like this. He checks his condition one by one while leaving a video letter with a camcorder. I think I know why you shouldn't buy a cheap Chinese pocket knife. The blade just gets duller rather than cutting the rock. In the end, he accidentally drops the knife and uses a tree branch to pick it up. Hanging on a rope, he rested his tired body and mind. As the temperature dropped at night, he wore a headset and used his back upside down to maintain his body temperature. He was in danger of hypothermia, but he was very lucky that he could warm his body by taking a shower in the sunlight for 15 minutes every morning at 9:30 am. He tries to apply the principle of leverage, using a pulley and his body weight, but the rock wouldn't budge. The more he cut the rock, the more his hand felt like being pressed. So he used the rope he had to make a tourniquet. He had a nightmare that a torrential downpour suddenly pours down and the canyon he was in is completely flooded. It would have been terrible if it had actually happened. So Aaron wakes up from the dream and decides to accept his fate. The movie portrays critical decision-making under pressure in a life or death scenario. Ralston is forced to take extreme measures for self-rescue to free himself, and his struggle with the boulder serves as a metaphor for human limitations and the constraints imposed by circumstances beyond our control. His entrapment raises profound questions about determinism, whether his prior actions inevitably led to this moment or if he had the freedom to avoid it. Ultimately, his decision to amputate his arm exemplifies a triumph of free will, asserting his autonomy over his fate. Here is the excerpt from the memo. Okay, Aaron, you can do it. I forgot my previous search and went toward the surge waves of emotion, knowing that inaction meant awaiting a slow but certain death. I choose to confront the risk of dying by taking action. The film highlights the strength of the human survival instinct. Aaron's sheer will to live pushes him to endure extreme physical and emotional pain. This drive is often associated with Nietzsche's concept of the will to power, which emphasized the fundamental human drive to overcome obstacles and affirm life, even in the most challenging circumstances. By the end of the ordeal, Aaron's decision to sacrifice his arm symbolizes a form of rebirth. He leaves behind a part of himself, both physically and metaphorically, and emerges transformed by the experience. This can be seen as an allegory for personal growth and change, where significant suffering and sacrifice lead to profound internal change. A desperate desire to somehow survive extreme adversity and see his loved one again keeps him motivated. Here is part of what he said during his lecture. When we are suddenly faced with a situation where a big rock falls on us and we cannot do anything, what choice can we make? We will probably try to push away the big rock, wondering why it fell on us. However, the more we push away, the stronger the rock will be. Will we just regret the situation and die? It is up to you whether you will accept the situation and overcome the crisis while enduring great pain or not. We have much greater abilities than we think. We just discover them when we encounter the big rocks. Adversity is the source of our deepest growth and greatest blessings. Embrace it boldly and seek it out without fear. Aaron finally overcomes his misfortunes dramatically and rappels out of the canyon using an anchor that someone had set up. There is stagnant, rotten water, but without it, he cannot even finish the rest of his journey. After 3 years, Aaron's hope finally becomes reality. All the real people who appear in the story were invited to the movie and filmed together. 127 Hours is not only a story of survival, but also one of personal reflection and the willpower needed to overcome extreme adversity. The film provides a gripping look at what one is willing to do when faced with a seemingly insurmountable challenge. It is reported that someone from Toronto actually fainted during the film. In 127 Hours, these philosophical themes are brought to life through Aaron's harrowing experience, encouraging viewers to contemplate their own lives and the choices they would make when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges.